Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you get financial independence. Quit that job, that just overbroke job, by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. Today, I'm super pumped to bring on a fantastic real estate investor who, within 1 month, bought 3 properties and now is making $1,000 a month in passive income. He's also an immigrant, and if he's done it, we can all do it, and we're going to show you how. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
Hey, what's going on? Super blessed as always to have you here on the show with me. And honestly, if you have any questions, hit me on Instagram, TikTok, or X at the Dustin Heiner. Find me and follow us there on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcast player. And if you would like to help out the show, consider leaving us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast player. I can't thank you enough for all those 5-star ratings and review. I am so appreciative of people that reach out to me on Instagram. Like, it just makes it fun when people say, hey, Dustin, I actually invested in real estate because I listened to your podcast. And that's what this show is all about. And that's what we have today. I am super pumped to bring on basically a guest that listened to the show and then got one of my courses, got the Greenlight Deal Analyzer, and then really got the encouragement, broke past the fear, got the understanding and knowledge to be able to invest in real estate. And now he's literally making $1,000 a month in passive income. And it just took him 1 month and he's got 3 properties. It was just, see what it really comes down to. When you build the business, when you start telling people that you're an investor, you start doing things as an investor, you get known as an investor, and then deals start coming your way. Now, I'll tell you another thing of what's going on in my life. I've been telling you recently what I've been doing in investing, and also another thing on top of investing in St. Louis, I've actually started investing in apartment complexes and multifamily. And here's the thing, right now I'm actually investing in an apartment complex. It's fun. It has 2 apartment complexes. There's like 165 total units in all these properties. It's a value add, which means, you might not know what that means, but we're buying a property. It's making a certain amount of money in profit. Well, we're going to make it worth more by increasing the rents, by adding new units, by changing something that was a leasing unit into an actual unit. We're going to make so much more money on the property, and it's going to make us money in passive income and equity capture as well. And here's a big thing. You guys know I just talked about having depreciation, getting more depreciation so I pay less in taxes. Well, this is the very last year. I believe it's last year. I've heard it's the last year. The IRS has been giving out last couple of years bonus depreciation. Let's say you invest $50,000 into a property. Well, you depreciate that. Well, they bonus whatever that depreciation is. So here's what I'm doing. I'm actually investing in an apartment complex. It's closing December 27th, I believe. But we're closing. Here's the great thing. Just like if you had a baby, like, your husband and wife, let's say you had a child, and you had the child on December 31st. Well, December 31st is not January 21st of the following year. Well, you get all the tax benefits for the entire year, even though you had the baby on the 31st. So what's great, same thing with the buying of another property. I'm going to get depreciation for the entire year, even if I own it for like 3 days or 4 days. And so I'm actually really pumped about this unit. Really good friends of mine, Jason and Peely. They've been on my show a number of times, actually. And on top of that, they speak at RubeCon. They're amazing people. They're investing in Tennessee, their own backyard. Now, let's jump into today's show where I am interviewing a fantastic, now he's an immigrant that literally figured out, with my help and Master Passive Income, Charles and William and all of us here, how to invest in real estate. Even though he's an immigrant, coming over 12 years ago, started living in Utah, and then now, after a couple years of trying to figure out how to invest, never did it, finally found the podcast, started working together with us here at Master Passive Income, and now has $1,000 a month coming in passive income. Imagine yourself, this time next month, that you start having $1,000 a month extra in your pocket. That's $12,000 a year without working. my goodness, you would be making so much money and you will just continually buy more properties because you have a business built. Okay, let's jump into today's show where I am interviewing my student, Juan Lizarado. All right, here we go. Juan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here. I have a lot of admiration for your work.
It's so fantastic that you reached out to me. I mean, I'll be completely honest that, occasionally I'll get thinking, man, this is just it's a lot of work, doing the podcast and all that sort of stuff. But getting, either a review on iTunes or Spotify, that's just an encouraging review, or somebody like you reaching out and say, hey, this has changed my life. It's encouraging to me. It makes me want to keep going. So definitely want to say thank you so much for reaching out, but then also for coming on. So now I love how you now have 3 properties, which we'll get into. And on top of that, like, you didn't always start as a real estate investor. Obviously, yeah, you definitely have a big story that we want to tell. So talk to us about your path to getting to where you are now.
Yeah. So I'm an immigrant. I came to the US in 2012. So it's been about 11 years now. I moved straight to Utah. So Utah is my home. I came to this country with $1,300 in my pocket. I had just finished college. Well, I had not graduated yet. I did my college in South America. So I came to start like here, like clean and, start over. So I started a career here in software engineering, started, going up the ladder, learning a lot. It's really hard when you are using a different language, right? And then when you get very technical. So it took a lot of practice and a lot of work, improve my skills, speak better English, all that stuff. So maybe 5-6 years ago, I started thinking about like, I really want to do real estate, like get a rental, because I saw some of my friends doing it, or some people I knew like, oh yeah, we have a rental property, but I just did not know how to start. And I started reading about it, but I was like paralyzed for maybe 5-6 years, because you just need the knowledge, right? And you just don't know what to do. And here in Utah, the market started getting very expensive. Like properties, it's kind of like California. Properties don't make good rentals right now. Prices are too high. Rents won't make up for it. So I thought like, I'm not gonna be able to do it because I cannot get anything here. It never crossed my mind that I could invest out of state. And then, like in January or February, March this year, I just run into the podcast in Spotify. So I was looking for investing podcasts, and I run into Master Passive Income. So I started listening. I listened to the first episode. It wasn't the first episode in the podcast. It was the last published episode. And I was like, wow, wait, this is great. So I went all the way back and started like just consuming all the content. Then I went and got your book, How to Quit Your Job. I don't remember the name. I have it somewhere in here. Then I got the real estate investing fundamentals class that you have. Is very affordable. I think the book, like, I just paid for shipping. It was really great. I started doing that, consuming all the content, all the people you interview, like introduced me to like another communities, other podcasts. So I started like consuming all that content. And then like we fast forward August. So I've been like listening and learning for like 6 months. And I realized like from your podcast that, I can invest out of state. So suddenly like I realized that I had like the whole US at the fingertips of, with a click. I can reach out and just be able to like study all these markets, find all these properties. I don't even have to leave my home for that. And that opened up so many doors, and it opened up my mind about it. So then I was super nervous about getting the first rental, but I finally made the decision in like September. So I started like building out the team. So I was like, okay, Dustin says we got to build out the team. So I started like talking to a lot of realtors, mortgage brokers, insurance brokers to get the better terms and deals for insurance, for loans, because not all loans are, good loans. Then I started like, okay, property management, that's the make it or break it in this business. So I started like talking with property managers. You have like three, four episodes in property management, how to interview them. I followed all that. So like some property managers wouldn't reach back to me. So I was like, oh, this is a red flag. This is not going to work. Like if I'm not even their customer yet or their partner, how is it going to be when I am, right? So I started like discovering until I found a very good company. So I partnered with them. So I got under contract in a property. I backed out from that when I paid for the inspection. You have an episode or two that you say about the inspection. So I lost the money on the inspection, but it saved me headaches, like probably thousands down the road with that. So I backed out from that property, but I learned so much in the process. And then I went down and got under contract again, and then closed on the first property on October 12th. And I learned a lot in that process because I was like remote closing. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like they come to my house and I'm like, oh, I'm closing on a loan and getting this property from my kitchen. So it was just crazy. And then 2 weeks later, I closed on the second property. So I got two properties just in October, and now I'm under contract for the third property. In between those, I backed out from another property, same some offers. It's not like you send the offer and everything works. And also finding deals is a lot of work, but now I'm getting better at it. So I'm getting like good discounts, sending lowball offers, negotiating every dollar, and I feel very happy about the deals I'm getting now. So so it's been like a crazy last few months. It's just been crazy.
This is so amazing. So for 4 or 5 years thinking about investing and then really starting to dive in. And what I love, and this is what happens to honestly for most students, is they are trying to invest for a number of years, and then they start diving into what they can actually learn and picking back up off other people, basically learn from other people. And so my students that get to me, usually a couple of years not getting a property, then they start working with me, or they get a course, and within maybe 2 to 3 months it takes before they get their first property, but their second property comes in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's so fast. And I love how you are pushing through any barriers or any roadblocks. Like you're just saying, I'm going to do it, because that's what we do as investors, is we need to have that change of mindset, or really who we are. Instead of being an employee, we need to realize that we are in the who, we're investors. And this is what we do. We don't give up. We don't overpay for properties. We make passive income. And so I love that you've been doing this. And then now getting 3 properties. Now, where are you investing? So you live in Utah and you're investing out of state. Talk to us about that process. What area, what city, but then at the same time, how did you get over that fear of investing out of state?
Yes. So like in April, when I started listening to the podcast, I started thinking like, okay, where can I invest? Once I realized that I can invest out of state, I started looking I made a whole list, and then I was paralyzed because I was looking in too many markets, too many locations, too many states. But then in one of your episodes, you said like, pick 1 or 2 markets, 2 ponds to fish from. So I was like, okay, let's see. So I visited last year, Kentucky, because my extended family lives in the Indiana side. So I had to fly through Kentucky. So I found that like, oh, that looks a lot like home. Like it's a big city. There's a lot in Louisville. There's a lot of properties there. There's a rental demand. Like I think vacancy is 5%. So it's pretty low. So there's a lot of demand for rentals. There's like good inventory. There's like the properties are not crazy expensive, but the purchase price ratio, like the 1% rule that I learned from you also, it made sense. So I started like looking more into it. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna settle on this. I'm gonna look at Kentucky, and I'm gonna become an expert in the area. So I started like following your advice. I subscribed to all the Zillow searches. I would get emails daily. I still get daily. I learned the neighborhoods. I would see a house coming to market, getting under contract, then coming back to market. So I already knew about the house. Like I just like know all these houses in the market. And then I when I was finally ready, like when I had the cash to invest, which it happened in August, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Let's overcome the fear. So I was super scared. When I had the money ready, I was like, okay, I don't think I can do this.
And I want to pause for a quick second and share that, honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So 2 things I would ask from you. Number 1, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin and Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number 1. Number 2, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL, RENTAL to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. You know, I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual, normal, everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets.
This is not going to work. I don't know what to do. How do I do like to get the keys when I close on the property? Like I had no idea, but I just went for it. I'm like, you know what? Let's send an offer, start working with the realtor team, send the first offer, the first couple offers, got one accepted. The one I didn't end up buying. But once I got that offer accepted, I started thinking like, oh, I need to finalize the details for the property management company. So what do I do here? So I started figuring that out, but then I was like already invested, like I was under contract, right? So I started like figuring that out. I backed out. Then I found this other property, sent a few contracts, a few offers. Then I got under contract again. And I was like, oh, this is the property. And then once you're at that point that you're invested, there's no going back. It's like, oh, I'm getting it. I cannot back out now. I'm out of the contingency period. I have to like follow through with this. So then at that point, I figured out like the title company I wanted to work with, the remote closing, the remote notary, like all these other pieces, the insurance broker, like everything I had to put it together to finalize it. And then once like it was like close, I like, you know, you get the property, but then it's like, okay, now about, you know, every property has to have some fixes. You have to do some rehab. So I'm like, oh, I had to learn that. Like, how do I do that from here? Like all these fixes, right? So I got that in the process. And yeah, so I think like, you just have to take the jump. If you're like ready to, like, you're never going to be ready to do it. You have to like jump and do it. If you have the cash and you know how to run your numbers, I think that's the most important thing. Like today, with today's interest rates, like I have one loan for 7.1%. This other one I'm locking for 8.3%. You can think like, oh, those are so high, but I'm still going to make money. I'm going to make maybe not the 250, but I'm going to make 200 off, 200 for after I rent it, after expenses, after reserves, after vacancy, utilities. Like I'm going to make money on top of that. So it's like the interest rate does not matter, but like, it's just like, you just have to go for it and do it. If not, you're going to be like me and be paralyzed for 6 years, or many of your students for years, just thinking about it, but not knowing where to start. It's just, you know, but once you get the first one done, I realized like, oh, the 2 weeks later, I did the second one. And then I got under contract again for a duplex. I backed out. Then I got under contract for this third single family home. And it's just so easy because I have everything in place. Like I got under contract. No, I saw like one of the listings came up, the house that I was following for a few months, got back into market, came back at a good discount. And I was like, oh, I really like that property. The numbers worked out. As soon as I came back on the market, an hour later, I was already sending a contract. It took just maybe a couple messages, like text messages. Hey, send an offer for this amount to this property. Then I message my lender, like, hey, I'm going to do this. I need the pre-approval. Like you just send like 4 or 5 text messages. Then if you get under contract, other few messages like, okay, the property inspector, you already have all this contact information, and it's just so easy. Like it's like once you have it, the business built, it's really easy to get that in place. So it's like, yeah,
I love that you, because I say this all the time. We build the business first, because the easiest part is buying the property. I mean, that's really, really simple. When you said like it's actually easy, but what makes it even more easy is if you build the business first, like you're saying, it runs itself afterwards. Like it literally keeps moving because you have the right people in place. Like when I buy a property, it takes me like 1 or 2 hours of my own personal time. Like you said, sending a couple of emails, sending a couple of text messages, and other people, the experts, do all of the work. That's just, it's so amazing. And I love how you said it's actually easy. You know, it's a simple process. And once you get it down, you can do it over and over and over again. Okay, so when you got that first property, you got the first one, the second one came pretty quick. You also had a couple properties that you moved out of or didn't close on. Now you're getting your third. Now, a lot of students that I'm working with right now, they're saying, Dustin, there's, you know, prices are so high, interest rates are so high. And one key thing that you said is it doesn't matter about the interest rates because our tenant's paying for that interest, which is perfect. As long as we're calculating that in, we make sure we buy it for low enough. But right now, my students are saying, I can't get a property under contract. Like there's so many properties. And I ask them, Well, how many offers have you put in the last, let's say, week? Said, maybe one in the last like 3 weeks. I'm like, but that's not enough. Like, if you don't put in offers, you're literally not going to get any deals because it's just physically impossible. If you don't put an offer, you don't get any deals. You put an offer, you get deals. So talk to me about that thought process now, where you're putting in lots of deals, getting it under contract with lots of properties. How did you actually make yourself get over that? And then what, any mindset things or anything that you could help anybody in the future that they need to start putting in offers to actually go ahead and do it?
Yes. So something I learned is like you got to know your numbers. So you look at the properties and you run your numbers. You have so many calculators. Your website, Master Passive Income, has also a calculator there. There's Deal Check that you have recommended in one of your classes. I use that one, and it takes like a minute to enter the address, and it calculates everything for you once you have the template configured the way you like it, and it's just like, if you run the numbers and if it makes sense, like, are you going to cash flow from this property? Yes. Then you don't think it twice. You go and send the offer. And that's like, because you got to move fast. I found that like when there's deals, those deals don't last in the market because other investors are going to jump at it. Something I learned also is that like, I saw some investors like offering over asking, and I was like, what are they doing? They cannot even, it's impossible for them to make money of this. So maybe they're new investors or they don't know what they're doing. But that's the thing. You got to move fast. And if somebody else offers over asking, then don't get in a bidding war. Move on. If the offer does not get accepted, you move on. If you offer and they're asking and you think, no, it's too low, value of an offer, you're not going to know unless you send it. I send a few and then they say, no, it's too low. So I try to negotiate like, okay, I can put 3,000 more. And they were like, no. I'm like, okay, I move on because the numbers just won't work. And it's not, you don't want to make it an emotional decision. You want to make it a business decision. And that's very important because it's so easy to get attached emotionally to a property, but you have to remind yourself, I'm not going to live in that property. It's just a stock inventory, right? And that's it. I'm not going to get attached emotionally to that. It's just like, I'm gonna keep it nice. I'm gonna maintain it, but it's just inventory. I can acquire or sell it. I'm not gonna get attached to the property. The sending offers is very important. Like the last two properties that I'm under contract for, that the last one that I closed on, like I sent a super low ball offer, but I did a cash offer. I was not expecting for them to accept it, and they accepted it. I did the inspection. It came out that it needed a new roof. So I negotiated down further, and I thought like, they're not going to accept that. And they accepted. So, so something I learned is like, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. So you got to try. You can ask, and if they say no, perfect. You decide move forward with the deal or back out from it. Or, but if you don't ask, you could be leaving money, off the table. With this last contract, I learned that too. I was like, oh, it went down to the price that works for me. And I thought about just sending that price that worked for me. But then my real estate agent was like, no, Juan, you can offer 4,000 less than that. Let's try it. Because I think they might accept it. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So we sent it, and they accepted. So even like I got an extra $4,000 of the price on these last property. So it's just, you gotta send the offers and don't be afraid to offend the seller. They don't have to accept your offer. And this is something you say a lot. They don't have to take it. You're not forcing them. You can send a low ball offer. If they don't want it, they can say no, and that's fine. It's just business.
It sure is. And for you and everybody listening, what you want to realize is when you're negotiating, you're basically saving money and you're really earning money. A penny saved is a penny earned, and you're actually earning money as you negotiate. And I love this. Like I say this all the time. If you are offering a price where you don't feel a little uneasy about it, you're offering too much. Your offer should be like, ooh, they're probably not going to like this offer. Then you know that you're getting closer to the right type of price that you want to be putting, because we're negotiating. We are investors. We don't pay over price. We don't bid up. We don't chase properties. This is inventory. There are lots of inventory out there. Now, Juan, there's another thing that a lot of students get hung up on is financing. How did you go about financing these properties?
Yes, though this is my favorite part because I guess some students maybe have it a little bit easier because, so in my situation, so I divorced a few years back, so I'm paying alimony to my ex-wife, which is fine, right? It's part of life. But because of that, my debt to income ratio is very high. So the debt to income ratio, like if some of the listeners don't know what that is, it's just that the banks use it as a metric to evaluate if they're comfortable lending you and if you will be comfortable paying back the loan. So my debt, so for the first property I got, I did a conventional conventional loan. Everything was fine, just under my name, got a great rate. I mean, 7.1, but I was quoted like 8.5 for some of with other lenders. So it was a great rate, no buy down. So I financed that. That was great. Then I was like the second property. And then when I tried to qualify for another conventional loan, it hit me like, oh, you can't because your DTI now is 56% and we need it to be 45% for the traditional Fannie Mae loan guidelines. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now? I was looking into other possibilities. So I talked to brokers. They actually like work a lot with investors. So they tell you all these other options. So they told me, well, you can do a commercial loan with an ARM, variable rate. But I didn't feel comfortable with that because you have to like maybe refinance in 5 years. So there's a balloon payment, the rate variable after the 3 or 5 years. It's just like, I was like, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. I prefer fixed rates. So I know that I'm going to make money for the next 30 years. Especially since rents go up and you pay down the loan. So then what my lender told me, or one of the lenders, I was working with like 4 mortgage brokers and 2 banks. So you get all the options, all the information, and they told me that they could do a DSCR loan. So is there? I don't remember what it means. Debt
service coverage ratio.
Yes. And what that means is all they check is like, they didn't check your W-2 income. They just care that, do you have a good credit? And by good, I mean, I think 580 or higher. And does the rent cover all the expenses, insurance and taxes, right? And pays the loan. And if that's the case, then yes, we can lend you. So that opened it up because the interest is a little bit higher. Like it's like 1% higher than regular loans. But if you can make it work, like in my case, I have not other choices. Like I need to finance. So this is the best choice I can get. And they said like, I can get as many as I can. I can close under the name of my LLC. So it's pretty nice because it's not under my name. And then I can still make money because I run the numbers. And then I think like, well, if I ever refinance these, they have a 5-year prepayment penalty that goes down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 every year. But I thought like, well, if I refinance, I will calculate everything, closing costs, penalty, and if anything, if I can still make money, then I'll do it. If not, I won't refinance, but I still know that I'll make money. But if I ever refinance down in the future, I know that I will make even more money with that. So the interest rate didn't matter because I was getting deals for these. So that type of loan really opened it up for me because I cannot do conventional right now. And the nice thing though is like in 2 years, I won't have to pay alimony anymore. So now like I'll be able to get a few conventional loans then. So I'm going to be able to like jump into deals and get a better interest rate at that time. But at least in these 2 years, I'll be able to continue to expand the business. So yeah.
Are you using the DSCR for the third property as well? The next one?
For the third property, you have no other choice. And I will use it also to refinance and cash out the second property because that one I paid cash. And that was amazing. Like I paid cash for it, got a great discount and investing back the money to do the rehab because it needs some work. But then with the after repair value, it seems that I'll be able to get all the money I put in out if I want, which is crazy because it's like, okay, I have the money in my hands, but then I have the property too. So that's just a crazy concept that I learned also from your podcast. And
yeah, you absolutely have no money in the deal, it sounds like.
Like, yeah, and it's crazy because the nice thing with this is that the seasoning period is just 90 days. So I don't have to wait 6 months for it. So in 90 days, which is like, I mean, right now I'm in the rehabbing process and renting it. So by that time, it'll be maybe January, February. At that time, I'll run out of money. So I'll need money for new down payments. So my plan is to cash out on that property, get as much as I can and still make money from the rents, right? And then so it's probably 75% of the appraised value. And then I will use that to get 2 more properties. So continue expanding the business. So that gives me like
I love it. And you're scaling the business now, which is absolutely terrific. That's what we want to start doing is continue to scale the business because it becomes a snowball. It just keeps making us more money over and over again every single month. And if we just keep putting that towards the next properties, it just gets bigger and bigger. Eventually, you'll be buying properties with the money that your properties are making, which is just mind-blowing that it actually happens. Now, talk to me about the process of building the business, because I talk about building the business all the time, teach it on the podcast, we have it in the courses and everything. Was it difficult? And talk to me about like how did Master Passive Income help you to get that going so that you make sure you're actually doing everything right?
Yes, so Master Passive Income helped me with just knowing like what a team means, or I didn't know like I needed all these pieces to, like, for my case, like I have a daytime job, so I don't want to get myself a full-time job right now. My goal is to build a business so someday I can like just work on the business and not have to do be able to like retire early and do the things I'm passionate about. So I didn't know like that, for example, I could hire a property manager and then don't have to worry about things. I didn't know that. I had no idea about that. So I learned that from the podcast. So for the building the business first, I learned from your online class, the fundamentals one, that like, oh, you need, a real estate agent, right? So that's the first thing I did. And they have a search tool for build your team. I reach out to a few, I told like maybe to 10 real estate agents. And that's the thing. That's something you say a lot, is that there's real estate agents by the dozen. Like there's so many, like, so you have to be careful who you choose to work with, right? So something I asked was like, I wanted to work with full-time real estate agent, not want somebody who does it on the side, somebody who works with out-of-state investors because the needs are different, somebody that will do the virtual tours for you, send you videos, like understand your needs because you're not there, and somebody experienced. So I found that, and something I found is like networking is so powerful because I got like this amazing team for real estate. You check reviews, you fact check their reputation, and everything was great. Just you check if they're responsive. If they're not responsive, that's a red flag. Find somebody else. So they were very like, they made all my criteria. So I was like, okay, this is great. Now I asked them like, okay, do you know good property management companies? Do you know good inspectors? Do you know mortgage brokers? Do you know insurance brokers? So they recommended me some of those. And then I started like just networking and also doing my own research, trying to find it online, just Googling, searching, right? So for example, for the financing on the first deal, I found like, oh, I can work with a local credit union there that can offer me a better rate. So I did that, and that's why I got a lower rate than lower fees than a broker, because a broker has to make money, so they charge you a little bit of extra fees there. But just the networking was really powerful to build the business. And I started like building the last part of the business as I was already sending offers, because I was like, oh, I'm serious about it. Let's just do it. Because then you're forced to complete that part, but you gotta be careful, right? Like you gotta have the right mindset. And I was like making calls every day, like meetings. I had like 3-4 meetings every day, talking with people, picking up who I was going to work with, until I finally landed a good property management company. And so far it's been really great. Like
I love it. And you're
awesome.
doing everything in the right order, because what we need to do is make sure we have everybody, they're experts. We're hiring them to make sure we're not going to screw up. In fact, I love making sure we have the right property manager. And like you said, like if they don't call you back before they have your business, they're probably not going to do very well calling you back when they have your money. And they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to this Juan guy again. I'll call him back later and never call you back. So what we do is we build the business, which is great. Now, on top of that, more than likely you had a couple hiccups or anything like that along the way. Is there any suggestions or any wisdom that you can give anybody that's looking to invest? Maybe they're trying to now start scaling the business. Any lessons you've learned that you could share with everybody else?
Yeah, so I would think like, let me think. So there's so many things. I think like one of the things, like not getting attached to the property. Like if it at some point the numbers don't check out, just don't do it. Don't send an offer, or if it doesn't get accepted for the numbers that work for you, then don't be afraid to move on. There's other properties out there. Maybe not today, but in a week there's gonna be there's properties coming into the market every day. The other thing is like learn the neighborhood you're trying to invest in. Like go to Google Earth, navigate the roads, check, like something that I do a lot is like check the crime maps, and also check the registered sex offenders, also to have an idea of the neighborhood, the safety. Something I found, like all the neighborhoods have issues, like there's always like some sort of crime, like, oh yeah, there was a robbery, or there was like, so don't get scared if you see, like, especially in big cities, you're gonna see that the map is over crime all over, even where I live. But that doesn't mean like it's like that, but you get an idea, like things I look for when I'm in Google Earth. I'm looking into like, are the houses like boarded up, or like does it look like the cars don't have wheels, and like things like that. So that's very important because I'm not physically there. Also, you can, ask the locals. If you're working with a local realtor, you can ask them, what are your opinions on this neighborhood? Then ask your mortgage lender. They're more honest because they can tell you openly, like, yeah, no, that's a bad neighborhood. So ask everybody you're working with, ask them about, like, what do you think of this neighborhood? And don't be afraid of backing out of a deal. Like, for example, my deal breakers, when I get an inspection, is foundation issues, just because they are very expensive to fix. They can be like $20,000-$30,000 depending on the fix, or in the lower end $6,000. So if there's a foundation issue, like a crack foundation, I learned that horizontal foundation cracks are like the worst. So I'm like, if that's there, I'm like, I'm not afraid of backing. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this. Also, if there's moisture in the basement or high moisture, like, you probably don't want to deal with that. And also, like, if the report tells you like the property has been very neglected, because the report will show you what the inspector sees that day. If there's a lot of issues there, there's probably going to be hidden issues that you're going to find out once you're on the property. So don't be afraid of backing out, lose the money on the inspection, but like, you will save a lot of headaches there. And then also, like, the other side is like, every property has issues. So you're going to find, like, especially other properties that like, maybe, I don't know, it will need a new roof, or it will need some paint here, or a rail, or like some panel work in the electricity panel, things like that. Don't be afraid of those fixes. Like, every property you get, and probably budget for this, you're going to have to do some rehab on it. It's not going to be like just pristine and ready, because you're not buying brand new. So keep that in mind. Don't be afraid of that. I think like backing out of a deal probably is like the best experience I have had, because I learned
I've done that
more.
too. Yeah, no, I've, well, what actually happens is deals back away from me. So I'll give you a little bit of instruction on what I would do. So when I see foundation issues, or if I see a roof issue, or if I see whatever big problems that could potentially be a problem, yeah, of course, those are problems. But what I actually see are dollar signs, not in that's going to cost me money. It's actually dollar signs that I'm going to make money on this. And here's how. And I think you also, in one of your properties, you did this as well. So let's say there's a foundation issue. I've literally done this in one of my Texas properties. There, like, one side of the house was like 4 inches lower than the other side. So it shouldn't be like that. So it's settling. Well, I went and I got quotes, because I could have just said, oh, it's going to be a bad thing, X, Y, and Z. I should just walk away. But this is where I see money, dollar signs, where I'm going to make money. Is I got quotes. I got 3 different quotes. The first one say it's going to be like, I don't know, $15,000 to fix it. Another one said it's going to be like $20,000 to fix it. The third one says, don't even worry about it. Like, it's literally normal for this. And if you wanted to, it might cost about $8,000 to get this jacked up and, foundation fix it. But he says, you're totally, and this is a guy, he's literally certifying it. With that, I went back to the seller and I said, hey, seller, I got a quote for $20,000 to fix the foundation. I need your help on this. And they're like, okay, well, they split it with me. They gave me like $8,000 or $10,000 off of the purchase price, because there's that foundation issue. And then I knew that I didn't actually need to. I'm not lying to them, because I knew that I could fix it, but I didn't necessarily need to unless it comes down time to it. So what I want you to start thinking is, as an investor, these could be great opportunities for you to get the seller to pay for it. Now, the other little side thought to that, let's say you come back and say, hey, seller, the roof needs to be repaired or replaced. Like, it's literally falling apart. It's going to be $10,000. I need you to pay for it. And they say no. Well, you need to make the decision. Is it worth it still to move forward, or should you leave your offer on the table and they walk away from you? So I just want to get that inside your brain, because my goodness, you can make so much more money and save so much more money when you have that perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's amazing advice, because I'm still learning, so I didn't think of it that way. But as you were saying it, I actually did that with that last property I closed on, because they came back and I was already getting a great discount, like under market value. And then I negotiated down like $4,000 for the roof. I got quotes for like $7,000. But then once I had negotiated down, I was getting other quotes, and it ended up costing $4,600. So really, I got a brand new roof, and I just put $600 more into that, and I got it replaced like 4 days after closing on the property. But yeah, I didn't know that. Like that's great advice. That's great advice to be able to like negotiate everything. And as you were mentioning that, I was thinking, like, I guess the biggest piece of advice is, like, as an investor, never pay list price. Always, pay under asking, because like we have to like save money, because you're gonna have to put some money back into the property when you get it. So So that's
Absolutely. Okay, so how much money in passive income, if you don't mind sharing, once all three properties are rented, you have them at the right rent rates and everything like that. How much passive income are you going to be making on these three properties?
yes. So the cash flow, like after expenses and everything, is gonna be like I think as they are right now, it will be $1,000 because the second property is paid off. So the second property will leave me $600, free and clear after expenses and reserves and everything. And then the other two properties about 200 each. So it would be $1,000. Once I cash out, right, and refinance, then it's gonna be maybe $600, but I'll have money to get two more properties.
Get the next property and the next property. I just love recycling my money over and over and over again. Whenever I get equity in a property, I'm like, well, there's more money I could use to buy the next property. But Juan, we could keep going. So, I mean, I love how you have learned so much, you've accomplished so much, and I love your enthusiasm, how you want to share just like me. So, but I know, I mean, I want to value your time, but it's so awesome seeing you succeed. And I really appreciate you coming on. So, man, I just got to say, I'm encouraged by you, and it helps me to want to continue on doing the podcast. But I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no, keep doing the podcast and all the content you do, the TikToks, the Instagram reels you're making. Like all that information is like so valuable. Something I wanted to say is that, like, for example, before I run into your podcast, like I run into like these gurus or real estate investors that are like, oh yeah, we can sell you these learning materials for $19,000. Like it's just insane. Like they charge so much for this knowledge, and you are like giving it for free, right? And yeah, I know you have your paid students, which is totally worth it. The coaching, everything you do, but it's just like if I would have not run into your podcast, I would have not been telling this story right now, because I was just, there were other podcasts, other content, but I just like so organized and everything together to get like, little baby steps, little pieces, bites that you can consume every day. And then you have all this knowledge to have a plan on how to get into the business. So I just, I just really appreciate it, because I did not spend $19,000 in learning all this. I spent maybe, I don't know, $80 in
$80. I know.
So it's like very, very valuable.
I love it. Juan, it's so awesome to have you here. So thank you so much for being on the show. And thanks you for literally sharing your enthusiasm as well as your success, because that's really helps us as investors to say, hey, somebody else can do it. I can do it as well. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Okay. Thank you.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.